On today's DNVR Broncos show, we're getting the inside scoop from our guy Todd Davis on what happened in the Broncos-Jets game. He's breaking down the offense, breaking down the defense, and then we're breaking down what the Broncos need to do to make that playoff push, if those are the expectations. Is this coming week a must-win? We're breaking down the schedule, looking at the big picture, and it all starts now.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
Oh, are we talking playoffs? I'm excited to get into this conversation today. But first, we got to get into the inside scoop on the DNVR Broncos podcast, where we are live from the Toyota Lounge inside the DNVR Bar. Of course, the Toyota Lounge is driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores, and we're presented by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up to get the deals that they're offering over there. Fellas, how we doing today?
Feeling good. October 1st. So it's officially winter, or was it already winter?
No, it's fall.
No, it's winter. It's cold.
Winter? The high's 80 degrees today,
For
Todd.
me, it just goes summer and then winter.
Wow.
I kind of like
So
that.
you just like skip football season then?
Football season is winter.
Yeah, I like it.
You know,
I
high
agree.
school.
It's
You know,
just
high school
cold.
football is never played in winter. Never played in winter.
High school football.
High school football, yeah.
When are state championships? Like end of November? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
always
end
like
of
the last
November.
week in November.
Exactly, yeah. And winter, Todd, isn't for like 3 more months. So
Well, I played high school football in winter because our playoff bracket was a little bit different than like Colorado's. So it was like a longer run.
you played in the end of January or end of December.
Yep.
Also, I don't want to hear about winter in LA. That's not real winter.
It's cold.
Oh yeah, get out of here.
Yeah. Because it's the first day of winter, I chose the Arctic vibe.
Oh, get out of
See?
here.
There you go.
It
You're
blew
on
up
point.
all over me on the
Whoa,
way here.
what?
Wow.
Yeah, so
What
like my hands
the
are all
hell
sticky.
happened?
And
Oh
my pants
Oh
are
my gosh.
goodness. Whoa,
You
gotta
sent
keep
it
that
Well,
something.
it's like the first rule of anything carbonated is like when you open it, you have to be ready to get your mouth on it if you need to.
Whoa.
And
Wow.
I was like driving, so I was opening it and didn't notice, and so
You
I
able to
hope
get
this
your
is
mouth
not
around
winter,
that?
Hank.
it's too big.
Wow.
This is not winter, Hank. This is crazy.
And Todd, with that, we'll let you take over the inside scoop to break down Broncos Jets, what went right on defense, what can improve on offense. And of course, no one knows the Denver Broncos better than our very own Todd Davis, who spent training camp with them as a coach.
All right, let's get into it. There's no better way to start than starting with the first play of the day. This is a sack by Justin Stranad, and I think this is you got to have some big cojones to call a zero blitz on the very first play of a game. So I think Vance Joseph was dialing it up here. You get motion, and they disguise it well, make it look like zone because, you know, they bump the motion, but it's a true zero blitz. Safety's coming down on tight end. Everybody's manned up. Somebody's supposed to have this, you know, fullback leaking out, but we don't have to get there. But it's a double A-gap penetration by the D-line and wraps by the 2 linebackers. And Justin Stranad does a good job of hitting it downhill, straightforward, and getting to Aaron Rodgers. It's funny because they actually were running a double move on this play. The Jets were, so they were trying to make a big splash play on the first play as well. But, you know, Justin Stranad was fast enough to get home that it didn't matter what you called as the offense. Great sack by him and great first play of the season as a starter.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about what a ballsy move by Vance Joseph to do this. Not just the first play of the game, not just with the guy that's playing his first defensive snap since 2021, but also Aaron Rodgers is a guy that you got to be really careful how you blitz him, when you blitz him, how much you blitz him, because he's a guy that if he knows you're blitzing and he picks up on it, you're toast.
Yep.
He's going to pick your defense apart. So that is all Vance Joseph calling the blitz at the right time to throw him off guard.
Yeah, and I love it too because, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, we all know it. He's getting older. So you want him thinking about the pressure. You want him thinking about his Achilles. You want him thinking about his shoulder injury from week 17, 4 years ago. Like, you want all those things in his mind because he's getting older, man. You got to protect your body.
Now,
Kind of
really,
feel bad for him.
no,
Like when he's just all
no,
scrawny out there,
No.
and like he looks like an old like wet dog who's trying to be
No.
like let in from the storm.
No,
you just crunch him and
The picture of him at the end of the game on the sideline with the
Yeah.
towel over his face and he looks miserable. Oh, what a great picture.
no, I agree.
What a
like,
great picture.
He brings it on himself, but there is a part of you that's just like, oh God, that guy doesn't belong out here anymore.
He definitely feels older than Tom when he was like at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, he feels like he's getting up there.
Really quick, Todd, I have a question because that was the very first defensive play of the game. Obviously, the first 15 for an offense is talked about all the damn time, probably over talked about. Is there a first 15 on defense, or when did Vance know he was going to call that play? Is that something last Tuesday he was thinking about at the Greenbrier, or is this something where Aaron gets on the field and he's like, all right, let's dial this up?
No, I think he knew earlier in the week because just like teams have first 15s, like you mentioned, defensive coordinators have to understand the thought process of the offensive coordinator putting together the first 15. So although your first 15 is different every week as an offense, you have things that you like to do. Everybody has tails. Everybody has tendencies. So because you guys like to maybe take a chunk play or make a big play on first down, first play of the game, okay, I'm just going to send a zero blitz and won't let you guys get anything and just start lighting you up to get the day started. So you definitely have to be thinking about your first 15 to attack the offense's first 15.
And that wasn't play action, right? That was just a straight drop back.
Yeah, straight drop back.
So I talked about a bunch the week before how I really liked the Thursday night football game and the last Jets game where they just came out and went play action, play action, play action. If you're the Broncos and you see them lined up heavy like that, you probably think there's a good chance it's play action. If it's not play action, it's probably a run up the middle.
Either way, that zero blitz is perfect for both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the straight drop back, like now all of a sudden you're scared of the quick pass. But when it's the double move and it takes some time to develop, it's maybe just a little bit lucky that it was a longer developing pass when it could have been something quicker.
Yeah. Well, luck is what they say. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Wow.
At least that's
Wisdom.
what you say.
Wisdom.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, next play here is an easy third down. This is like it's called like three buzz. So you got guys buzzing out here. You're gonna have deep thirds played by the corners and the safeties, and this safety down is coming down to play this hook on this side. It's a good, third and long call for the Broncos, and this is the forced fumble by Brandon Jones. He does a great job of holding the disguise because it looks like too high all the way. I mean, they're already running their routes, and it still looks like too high. But he does a great job of dropping down into his zone. And then just puts his hat on the ball, and he does a great job of forcing the fumble here. And these are the type of plays that defenses need to be successful. Yeah, we want to be good and stop you and not let you run the ball, but big plays happen. Teams are able to put together drives at times, but if you can stop drives by forcing turnovers, I feel like that's how you really win football games.
Especially early on in a game against a good offense. And now the Broncos defense has done this twice in 4 weeks. That is incredible. On the very first drive, getting the ball in opposing teams' territory, setting your offense up so they don't have to do a damn thing to get a point unless they go backward like they did on this drive. It was inexcusable that the Broncos didn't come away with at least a 3-0 lead in this game, and inexcusable they didn't come away with the 7-0 lead against the Seahawks, but the defense certainly did their job.
Yeah, for sure. I think they should have came away with points. I mean, you get the ball, what is that, the 28-yard line?
Yeah, it's 45-yard field goal.
As your kicker, like, the least you should do is just stay right there.
Yeah, okay, we're going to do 3 quarterback sneaks so we don't lose any yards and get a 3-0 lead.
I'm fine with being conservative when you get the ball in plus territory like that. All right, let's move on to the next play. So we talked about Bo. We talked about his 60 yards. And, some of it's Bo being a young quarterback, and some of it is not Bo's fault. So I have 2 plays that are back-to-back where it's like, hey, this is not Bo's fault. And then, hey, Bo could be a little bit better in this situation. This is a concept that the Broncos continue to run over and over. I think is one of their favorites, where they run these clear-out routes by the front wide receivers and run this deep over by the back receiver, and they love hitting it right here. This is the same play they hit to Troy Franklin the other way. They dress it up with a million different formations, but they love running this concept here. The only problem with this one is Greg Dulcich is right here, and he's supposed to have a seal block on this outside linebacker. So he already has him leveraged, and he's supposed to seal him in so Bo can buy time, get around this edge, and find the receiver dragging and coming across on this deep over. Well, the problem is Greg doesn't do his job to the caliber that he's capable of, and this outside linebacker ends up working outside of him and ends up putting pressure on Bo when everything's happening the way the Broncos want. We're clearing out Sauce with Cortland, so he's going high. The safety is taking this over route. This linebacker's eyes are front side, so this over route coming is going to be wide open. But the problem is he doesn't have the time to do his job because of this missed block here, when in all actuality, he's going to get this man free like they want, and there's going to be a big play there. But he has to dump it off down low, and the defender's on it, and that's not what the Broncos want. They made the right play call against the right defense there in cover 3, so everybody's sinking, but they just don't have enough time because of the blocking up front to get this ball where they need it to go.
And then he would have had over -7 yards at halftime. He would have had over 100 yards by the end of the game. And maybe the Broncos run away with this one. It's a really, really good thing to point out, though, there, Todd, because it was a good play call there, and the shot was there, and the Broncos would have got points on that first drive.
Yeah, I think it would have, worked out and gave Bo confidence to make some better plays throughout the entire game. And they, like I said, they run this concept a lot. So they ran it later on in the game. But when it works out for them, it works out really well. It's a great deep shot, and it's really hard to defend with. You got to protect all these vertical routes too, so it's not an easy route to defend. All right, this is another play. Okay, now this one I feel like is more on Bo, and I think this is where he has to mature and get better as a young quarterback, which I believe that he can. You're going to get a levels concept by these 3 wide receivers up top, and you get Bo dropping back. So levels. You got the flat, you got the hookup, and you're going to have the dig right here. Well, the thing about this play and why it gets messed up, Palchevsky is doing a great job of blocking his guy. He has his DN over here. He's making him run past the quarterback, which is great. So there's no pressure on Bo. So what Bo should do right now is just step up in the pocket right here. You got a QB spy right here, but he's not threatening Bo. So Bo should step up in the pocket and still feel comfortable that, hey, I have Quinn Miners right here. He can block him if he needs to. I can step up and wait for this route to clear so that I can make the throw that I need to make. But unfortunately, Bo gets like antsy, and he darts out to this side of the field. That's why he's way over here. Mm-hmm. Instead, if he just sit in this pocket, he will be right where he needs to be. And so when he darts this way, Josh Reynolds is open, but he doesn't know whether he should continue his dig here and hit this open window, or if he needs to stop his dig here because Bo is flowing this way. He doesn't want to flow opposite the quarterback. But for those reasons, they kind of have miscommunication, and Bo did that get messed up? Well, at the end of this play, Bo kind of throws this ball here, and Josh didn't know where to be, and plus the ball was in the dirt. But I think he put more pressure on himself by getting out of the pocket too early when the O-line was doing a great job of blocking everybody up. If you step up and make the throw, I think it's perfect.
I have to imagine, especially 2 straight games with no sacks for Bo.
Yeah.
That's partly credited to him. That's partly credited to the offensive line, the new offensive line with Palcho in there, right tackle over these past 2 games. I have to imagine Bo's just going to start trusting the offensive line more and more and more, at least hopefully, and then be comfortable staying in the pocket and instead of getting out of the pocket.
Yes, I think so. And once he does that, I think he'll make more throws and better throws, because this right here, I think it's a throw under the duress that he puts himself in instead of actually being under duress. So I think he can get the ball to Josh Reynolds right here, just like he did to Cortland. Very similar route. This is a deep dig that he hit Cortland on a beautiful deep dagger. So he's very capable of getting the ball where it needs to be if he just doesn't feel the pressure like he has to throw it right now.
I love that. All right, let's put a halftime break on the Inside Scoop when I give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota, where Toyota has the best cars out there. In fact, last week I was hooked up with a Toyota as my rental car, and I absolutely loved it. I was blown away with all the bells and whistles that Toyota has and that cars have now that Toyota just makes standard in their cars. And man, it makes me want to get their new 2024 Land Cruiser, which just came back this spring. It is an awesome car. And hey, if you're prepping for winter like Todd and Henry right now, the 4Runner, the Land Cruiser, the Tundra, I mean, it literally has like a winter name in the car. name right there with the Tundra. And of course, if you want a hybrid vehicle, they've got all the hybrids that you could think of, including the Tundra. Their big truck is available in hybrid to give it that extra power needed. And if you need a Toyota, make sure to check out one of our friends at the local Front Range Toyota store, where they have so many, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
I'm just imagining you rolling up to practice with all your bells and whistles.
Oh, yeah. People
bringing
were
your thing and blowing your whistle. And
people were very impressed with all my bells and whistles last
good.
week, I got to say.
That's great. Also, shout out to Empire today. Yeah, I mean, we've told you about these floors before, but they really are nice. Whenever I do this read, I look down and they're still just in great shape, and you wouldn't expect it. They changed the floors in my apartment building. We talked about that. They're not as nice as Empire floors. Currently painting some walls. It's really kind of annoying because some of the doors you can't go through. It's like old maze. But those are walls, not floors, so it's not really relevant. Empire today, if you need new floors, you should check them out for a whole bunch of different reasons. They give you the best value. They make it simple. You can use their website, and it'll just show you what all the different floors would look like in your home with their virtual floor designer. A lot of the time when you go buy floors from box stores, you're talking to somebody who isn't a floor expert. Maybe they're wood experts, but they just happen to be in the floor area that day, and they don't really know what's up with the floors. Empire, all they do is floors, and so you know that you're getting a floor guy. They pride themselves in convenient shop-at-home services. They'll come help you out, and if you want a free in-home estimate, all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
All right, halftime's over. Let's jump back into the inside scoop.
All right, this is Bo's best throw of the day. I mean, when you talk about ways he can get better, you also got to talk about the things he did well. I thought this was a great throw to Cortland, the longest pass of the day, and I think his most accurate pass. And he has the ability to deliver the ball when he needs to, when he's not under duress, when he's not throwing off his back foot, when he's really leading into his throw. You get the vertical concept here, and then Cortland's going to run what's called a deep dagger. So it's 15 to 17 yards. He's going to run a deep in or a dagger. And Bo puts this ball right on the money. I mean, Sauce is an outside leverage, and Bo just does a great job of zipping this ball right in here to Cortland. And I thought it was his best throw of the day. And these are the throws he has to continue to make if the Broncos are going to be successful.
Yeah, and this was a huge jump start to the Broncos touchdown drive. And I mean, this was 3rd and 11, right?
Yes.
3rd and 11, making this 23-yard completion, I think, just absolutely huge. And I love the way you broke it down, Todd.
Yeah, so this is, we needed this right here. And that leads, also on that drive, there was a lot of good running plays. I thought the running backs held up really well in the run game. There was a couple plays that we had that penalties were involved that helped us move down the field, so we need those too. But right here is just a lead week by Michael Burton, and I thought that the Broncos O-line was doing a great job all game of getting to the second level. These guys are dominating a pretty good front with Quinnen Williams and a couple other guys that are pretty talented. They were doing a great job in getting to the second level and giving Javonte space. That's what you want as a running back. You want space to be able to make cuts and create big plays. So it's a nice cut back by Javonte. He ends up escaping out the backside. And, it's been a lot of times since we've seen space like that in the blocking our offensive line. So we got to give those big boys credit, and they did a great job on this play.
Yeah, and I mean, Quinn Miners and the rest of the offensive line say games are going to be won and lost on our shoulders. The first 2 weeks of the season, the offensive line was bad. Yeah. I mean, that's when Bo got sacked. Every time this season, it's also when there were just no holes in the run game. We saw that first Tyler Beatty run in week 1 where he got the 16 yards, and you broke it down. Yeah, Tyler did his job, but the offensive line, that was the only time they created a hole.
Yep.
Any running back can run behind a hole like this. So credit the offensive line, especially Quinnen Williams. He's one of the best in the game, and we weren't talking about him during the game because the offensive line took care of business.
Not at all. They did a great job. And this is how that drive ended. It was a great job of Cortland getting open. They're in man-to-man, and, usually in man-to-man when you have a bunch, you usually work concepts. So you can stay in man or you can go to zone. A lot of people go to quarters concepts. You go to box, first in, first out, first up. you have to change the way that you defend against bunches because it's easy for everybody to run into each other. You can't just be locked on your man. Well, something happens with their communication, and they do not pick up Courtland at all. So they let him run free. You have he's going to take the point, and both these guys are going to take the inside guy. But that's not our fault. We didn't ask you to do that, and that leaves Courtland scot-free going to the back pylon, and Bo delivers a pretty good ball. High ball, could have been a little bit lower, but Courtland does his job and toe taps in the end zone, and that's a great hookup between Courtland and Bo Nix. And if we're going to be successful again, we need those two guys to be clicking, and this drive especially, that's exactly what they did.
In Bo's very first touchdown pass in his NFL career. Probably thought it was going to come a little earlier, but it came at just the right time because the Broncos had to have a touchdown there. And it's so rare to find guys that wide open in the red zone, especially when you're not just at the 20, you're at, the 7 or something like that, because there's just no space to run. So it was wild that Courtland was that wide open. Love seeing the breakdown.
Yes, sir. All right, just 2 more plays here. This one is another kudos to the offensive line. They were just playing hungry, like with their hair on fire. So they're supposed to, this is like an insert play. So Michael Burton's going to come here. Javante's going to start the action here, and then he's going to wind it back to be able to follow Burton. Kind of like a lead, but just creating it a different way. So this play, they double team here, and this is Michael Burton's guy. Well, Quinn Miners is like, hey, we've already demolished this guy. I want him too. So Michael Burton doesn't even have anybody to block because of how good this offensive line. I mean, look at this hole.
Yeah, wow.
He even takes Burton's guy and throws him out the club. Burton doesn't even block anybody on this play because the offensive line is playing so well. Javonte hits this massive hole once again, and carry people at the end of the run. But if the offensive line continues to block like this, there's no stopping the Broncos offense.
And Todd, go back one more slide really quick. Look at Courtland on this bottom right of the screen. He literally has his back turned to the end zone the Broncos are trying to score in because he's also got his guy so locked up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be a great running team, you have to have great blocking from your wide receivers because you never know what block could spring it. Like if Javonte makes this guy miss, this guy ends up running it down. That's the difference between a touchdown or a 20-yard run. So it's important to have great blocking on the outside. And Courtland, I think, is a really good blocker.
Also, it's got to be so fun for Quinn to see a DB.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And just know, there's nothing you can do.
He also did kind of, I think it was Joe Lombardi brought it up, but he leans out a little bit too far sometimes because he gets overexcited. So he didn't blow the guy up, but next time.
But he threw him out the club. All right, this is my last play, and I think this is really where the Broncos won the game. This was the goal line stance. 1st and goal on the 1-yard line, and they end up kicking a field goal from the 6 after a penalty. And as linebackers, they always teach you start in the end zone, but you never want to stay in the end zone. You want to get out of the end zone as quick as possible because if you make a tackle in the end zone, that is a touchdown. So this is a great job of these guys playing downhill. Welps coming downhill, Cody Barton coming downhill, Jonah Ellis really filling this gap and not letting them have any space inside. And they do a great job of sealing this off. That's 3 hats to the football. There was no way they were getting in, and this was the 2nd down play that ended up leading to a 3rd down stop and eventually having them kick the field goal. But this is where you win and lose football games. Like, as an offensive coordinator, there is no reason why we don't score if we have 1st and goal from the 1. Like, you have so many plays at your disposal. You can run QB sneaks. It doesn't matter what it is. There's such a high probability of you scoring that it's purely defensive will and want to for them to not let you in the end zone. And that's what we saw right here.
And then they were going to go for it on 4th and 1.
Yep.
And then if they drew the false start instead of getting the offsides like they were looking for. And Aaron Rodgers has one of the best hard counts in the NFL. They were trying to get the Broncos to jump to get a couple more inches there. And so that's even more credit to the Broncos.
But why? Like that's the kind of like silly football stuff that doesn't make sense. Like the most you're going to get from this is 6 inches. I know there was no other way to say that, but pause.
That's pretty good.
Like you can only do more harm than good,
100%.
So there's no reason you have to even do hard count there. You should just quick count and go.
Literally could have been the difference in the game.
Yes.
If they don't try to do that and they end up getting the touchdown there, and the Broncos still had a great defensive stand, but because they went for it on 4th down, it hurts them. And Todd, I think you broke down the four most important plays of the game there. Cortland's catch on 3rd and 11 that sets up the touchdown later in that game, and then those 3 plays right there, that goal line stand was the difference in the game for the Broncos. And we talk about it all the time, and coaches talk about it all the time. In the NFL, this isn't Bama going up against a no-name school. This is, in the NFL, any team can win on any week. We saw the Panthers beat the Raiders a couple of weeks ago, and that can happen any week, and it just comes down to a couple of plays, and you found the right plays to break down. So love the inside scoop.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on in our conversation and talk about kind of a big picture look on where things stand right now. We had the conversation a couple of weeks ago after the Broncos started 0-2, going on a 2-game road trip where they were playing an undefeated Tampa Bay Bucs team and a Jets team that was starting to figure things out, and things were grim. Things were not looking good at all. We're talking about, like, are the Broncos going to get a win before they play the Carolina Panthers? Now it's a totally different conversation. What are at 2-2, riding a 2-game win streak on a road trip? What are your expectations now for the Broncos? How have they changed, if at all?
My expectation for them is to have a winning record. I think that they found ways to win games and tough games on the road. That gave me confidence to say, like, when Bo figures it out, if the offensive line continues to block the way that they are, if defense can hold up their end, there's no reason why we can't find a way to win some more games. Like, 10-9 is an ugly game, but it doesn't matter. We found a way to win. That just gave me confidence that along the way, whether it's against the Raiders or against the Chargers, when we get in those gritty AFC West games, like, we can find a way to win.
I love that. Henry, are you on the same page with Todd?
Yeah, I think the expectation's about the same. I think we did the roundtable, I think that was 2 weeks ago, right? With, like, how many games will the Broncos win now that they're 0-2? I think I had them at, like, 7 wins. Maybe it was 8. But
no, I think you had 6.
6?
Yeah.
What'd you have?
5.
Oh, maybe it was 6. Okay, I'd bump it up to, like, 7 or 8.
Okay.
Like, I think they're fine. Like, they can be competitive. There's still obviously some flaws. Having Tim Patrick would be huge.
He was looking good last night.
He was so good. He was so good. But I think they're going to keep getting better. I think the defense obviously is going to keep them in a lot of games, and it's just going to be on the offense to find something that works in every game and hopefully ride that to a win.
Yeah, I feel like roller coaster Hank over these first 4 weeks of the season. Like, wow. Oh my gosh, I thought the Broncos were going to be competing for the playoffs before the season starts. After the 0-2 start, how could you not be down on the team and feel like I had them going 5-12 after the 0-2 start? But incredibly enough, they bounce back, win 2 games they were not supposed to win at all. Touchdown underdogs in both games, and they win those. That's incredible in the NFL. And now sitting at 2-2. Guys, they just the combined record of the 4 teams that they've played so far is 11-4, with 3 of those games being on the road. If you take away the Broncos games, the combined record of the opponents they played is 9-2. That's an insanely difficult start, especially with 3 of those games on the road.
Yeah.
To come out 2-2, yeah, I would have taken that at the start of the season, and I think coming out 2-2 in those games shows that the Broncos should be competing for the playoffs. So I do think that that's kind of the expectations now for me with this team is they should be competing for the playoffs, which probably means, well, it definitely means competing for a winning record. 9-8, man, can they get to 10-7?
I think 9-8 is where I'm at.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
I just wanted to clarify because I did say winning record, but I think you were going to go off on a different number.
I might say 9-8 would be competing for the playoffs.
Okay,
and so that's why they don't have to make the playoffs for this to be a success. No,
Yeah.
but if they're competing for the playoffs, look, we're October 1st right now, and the Broncos are relevant. Can they be relevant come January 1st when it's week 16, week 17? That's my expectation, my hope for this team. And if they do anywhere close to that, I think that's going to be a success. So we're kind of all in a similar ballpark here. How do the Broncos get there? And Todd, I love the idea you had. Let's break down what needs to happen by the bye week, which is week 14, which is the first week in December. What do the Broncos have to do in the next 2 months in order to be set up for success, or what we would call success? And let's dive into the schedule after I give a shout out to our friends over at Circle K, where Circle K has everything that you need. Unless you have a fully electric car or you live in a city where you don't need a car, you're stopping at a gas station probably once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. So you're going to be getting gas anyways. And our friends over at Circle K are going to give you 25% off per gallon on your next 5 fill-ups if you just have the free Circle K app, the Inner Circle app over at Circle K. And then you might actually even get some drinks there. They're giving out their any size Polar Pop for 79 cents, which is insane. You can get a massive Polar Pop for 79 cents. Plus, their membership is free, and they've got deals all day, every day on foods, drinks, and much more. So all you need is your phone number to get all of these deals. Head to the App Store, download the Circle K app, and sign up for the Inner Circle for exclusive offers. New offers purchased weekly, and sweepstakes are uploaded weekly as well. So check them out over at our friends over at Circle K. Make sure to get that Inner Circle app.
And shout out to our friends at Game Time. You guys know we love Game Time. It is the best place to buy tickets for any kind of sporting events, theater, comedy shows. They definitely will have you covered. And right now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time's Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's nothing more frustrating than looking through thousands of tickets and not being able to find what you need, or putting tickets in your basket and then getting to the part where you're supposed to pay, and then it's 3 times as much. You don't have to worry about it with Game Time because they have their all-in pricing. And if you want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that is code DNVR, and that gets you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. And before we dive into this conversation, Todd just gave us an incredible 30 minutes of breaking down the Broncos. And we don't have that many likes on this show. Come on.
Oh, that's
Give
sad.
Todd the love. Hit us with a thumbs up on the show if you're tuning in on YouTube. Subscribe also. We just hit 90,000 subscribers. Let's get to 100,000. That will be our first YouTube plaque, which would be very cool for us here at DNVR. And we really appreciate everyone who joins us every single day. We've got some OGs in here. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Daniel, who those guys are joining us every single day. And we also like new names like William, Cavante. We really appreciate you guys as well. So hit us with a thumbs up in the Toyota chat. It really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. Okay, so what do the Broncos, in order to hit our expectations, hit the goals that they want this season, where do the Broncos need to be come their bye week in week 14? So the Broncos have 9 games until then, which is actually kind of wild that their bye is so late in the season. I think this is the last bye week that any team could get, and the Broncos just happen to get it. So let me just read off the games that the Broncos have leading up to the bye week. Home against the Raiders, home against the Chargers, on the road, Thursday night football, Sean Payton going back to New Orleans against the Saints in week 7, then home against the Carolina Panthers, then 2 away games, probably the most difficult stretch of the season, at Baltimore, at Kansas City, before the Broncos come home to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Then they go on the road to play the Raiders, and then they're at home on Monday Night Football against the Browns. Man, to already be a month into the season and have that many games still left before the bye is wild. But if the Broncos are making a playoff push, maybe that bye is actually going to be perfect time to kind of give them a reset before the final month of the season. So if the Broncos want to be where we think they should be, what should their record be at that time?
I think that's the best time to have a bye. Like, nobody wants the week 4 bye, the week 5 bye. We're just getting started. We haven't even hit our stride yet. Like, it's too early to take a break. So there's a couple games in there that, if you lost, you would understand. Definitely the Chiefs. The Saints are playing really well right now, but I think you definitely got to try and beat and have an opportunity to beat the Raiders and the Chargers. Beat the Raiders twice in that time. Panthers chalk that up as a win. I don't care if it's Andy Dalton or Bryce Young. Like,
Wow.
chalk that up as a win. I think the Saints is an interesting game because you have Sean going back to New Orleans. I think it's going to be a very, very important game to him. A lot of emotion. So there's 9 games left. I would love to see them go 5-3, 5-4.
There we go. Yep.
5-4, and be 7-6 going into the bye. I think that is over 500, and I think they have to play the Chargers again. They play the Chiefs again. If they lose one to the Chiefs, but they win the second one when it counts, I think that would be a good place to be as a Broncos fan.
I'm at the exact same spot as you. I think they need to be 7-6 at the bye, which is 5-4, at least to really, really be competing for the play. If they're at 7-6, they are really competing for the playoffs in those final 4 games. And you look at those final 4 games, and they're tough games, like he's talked about, Todd. Against the Colts at home, that's the most winnable. Then in Los Angeles, playing the Chargers. We'll see where the Chargers are at. We've seen the Chargers look really good. We've also seen them not look that good to start the season, but that's going to be a tough game. Bengals in Cincinnati. Yeah. That's probably going to be tough, but hey, maybe not. The Bengals are 1-3 right now. And then the Chiefs at home. Hopefully the Chiefs are sitting their guys. In my opinion, I hope they're sitting their guys in Week 18 there to make that an easier game for the Broncos. But I don't want to be going into that stretch needing to win out. Yeah. And if you are wanting to make the playoffs and you only have 6 wins going into that final stretch, you probably need to win out. I don't want to be in that spot. 7-6. You're sitting really pretty. You're almost. I mean, I'd be comfortable saying it's pretty much a lock to have a winning record at that point if you're 7-6, because I think they'll go 2-2 in those final 2 games or final 4 games. But if they're 7-6, they could go 3-1 and make the playoffs right there.
Yep, I think that's exactly right because it puts them in the exact same situation as last year when they were 7-6 at that point. They needed to go 3-1 down the stretch. You assume they lose to the Lions last year, which they did. But if they had just beaten the Patriots, beaten the Raiders in the finale, they would have made the playoffs. And so I think you just want that exact same scenario again. And it'd be nice if you had like a cushion, but that's 6-4 is probably just unrealistic. But if you can put yourself in a situation where you can go 3-1, make the playoffs, again, like it's just like last year, and you get your fair shot at it.
More cushion for the pushing.
More cushion for the pushing.
Pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah. I like that cushion.
That.
I love cushion.
Yeah.
And I like cushion when it comes to the playoff race. That's what I'm saying. Yep. Okay, so let's pull up the schedule, and I wanna go through every game leading up to the bye week and ask you if it's a must win in order for the Broncos to get to that spot, or if it's not necessarily a must win. And let's start with this week against the Raiders. The Broncos have lost 8 straight games to the Raiders, which is insane. Dates before the Josh McDaniels era. And, of course, it continued throughout the Josh McDaniels era and continued last year. Rich Bisaccia is in there. I mean, it's such a bad streak that they've got going. Is this a must-win for the Broncos in order to get their goals?
I think that it is because I think this is one of the not easier games in this stretch, but I think it's a beatable team. I'll say that. I think you look at the rest of the schedule, like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Falcons. I mean, there's some tough games, but I think it's important, one, to break the losing streak against the Raiders. But anytime you're playing an AFC West opponent, those games count double. So it's super important to try and get a win.
I think personally, there's 3 games that are there's 2 games that are by far the easiest games in this next 9-game stretch for the Broncos, and this is one of them. At home, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they could do what they did to the start of the season and lose a game they probably should have won and then go on a 2-game win streak where no one expected them to win. Yes, that can happen, but I think this is one of the games that they've got to win. Especially they've got momentum on their side. Yeah. The Raiders are in disarray right now. We're going to break down the Raiders game starting tomorrow in depth, but they're going to be without potentially 3 of their best 4 players. I mean, their 2 best players in terms of Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. If you can't beat the Raiders at home, when you got a 2-game win streak, when you got people leaving in this team, when you've got an elite defense, and the Raiders are falling apart, oh my gosh, I don't know when it's going to happen. So yeah, I do think that this one is a must-win.
Yeah, I mean, I can't call it a must-win because a must-win means you must win it. So,
But when do we do like everybody
Like, I
says
just-
you can't call it a must win? You like when can we call a game a must win?
When
Like
you
you
must
talking about
win it.
like what was that week 15 against the Patriots last year was a must win.
that was a must win.
It actually wasn't a must-win though. The Broncos
mean-
still could have made the playoffs.
So
So your
it is-
argument
it was
of
at
it
least
being
so
a
no
must-win
game's a
doesn't
must
make
win.
sense.
If you win,
Yeah,
you
no,
win.
it
If you
doesn't.
lose, you lose.
I think that's kind of the definition of must win.
Broncos
You must,
would've
like
still-
if you lose this
after the
game, we
Broncos
show up on
lost-
Monday. They have a path.
After the
Like,
Broncos lost to the Patriots, they still had a path. They had a 3% chance of making the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it wasn't a must-win.
but it was out of their hands at that point.
I don't know because
I'm
they
pretty
still had
sure-
3% chance. But it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because it
no, because
wasn't
they
a
could have beaten the
must-win.
Raiders, they
Then.
wouldn't have gotten in.
It wasn't a must-win.
But I mean, again, like at least it was pretty close. So you can even say that is I can't go must win in week 5 when you're 2-2. Like it's just not a must win.
I just feel like it's a must win when you look at the rest of the schedule. Like I think maybe my definition of must win is different because I always say it. It's like
Yeah.
I just want to win the games that are close. Like if we don't beat the Chiefs, we have to have some cushion in there. Like at least we beat the Raiders, so we could lose. We can drop one to the Chiefs because that still gets us in that 7-6 range once we hit the bye. Like. If these aren't must wins, then when you play the Chiefs, you have to find a way to win. When you play the Falcons, you have to find a way to win. You can't you never want to go into the game thinking you're going to lose it, but like you want to know that if I
Yeah.
do take a loss, like my dreams of making the playoffs are still available. You know?
Yeah,
I agree.
That's why I don't go must win. I think it's a big game. I think that it would go a long way. Again, right now the Broncos are in 10th, which is the last spot of all the 2-2 teams in the AFC, just because they haven't won as many AFC games as the teams in front of them. So I think like it's a big game. It's important, but like must win. It's week 5 and you're 2-2. It's not a
Important,
must win.
important win. Let's
Definitely.
I mean,
yeah, it's an important game.
As Chris says, and I agree with Chris in the Toyota chat, he says, Henry, it's a must-win if they want to be a serious team.
Are the Ravens serious?
I totally agree.
Ravens lost to them.
Yeah, but this is
felt
different,
fluky,
though.
though.
Yeah, it
Okay.
did. And now the Ravens have turned it around. The Broncos have turned it around. They need to keep that momentum going against the Raiders, and they can't lose 9 straight to the Raiders. And I think that's right, Chris. Be a serious team. And then go 0-2 at home and just kill all the momentum that they've got going. And I mean, are we talking about a 6-3 loss if they lose to the Raiders? Because I don't see
Ugly.
this defense giving up much, if anything,
Yeah.
to the Raiders this week. So I don't even want to go down there. I don't think it's going to happen. Then the next game, home against the Chargers. I don't think this one is a must-win.
What's the difference?
The Chargers are, I think, a very dangerous team.
Okay.
And I think that they're a team that's going to absolutely be competing for the playoffs. And I think if you go 1-2 or 1-1 over these next 2 games at home, would I love it? No, but you're 3-3. That 7-6 is still absolutely in sight.
yeah.
But if you lose to the Raiders this week, I would think that they're going to lose to the Chargers as well.
Yeah.
And then you're 2-4. So yeah,
you could
that's
still
why I
go
do
beat 'em.
think that this game on Sunday's a must win, while the Chargers one isn't.
Yeah, I think they're all important because they're AFC West
Yeah.
games. So, I mean, if you're third in the AFC West, it's very hard for you to make the playoffs from that spot, even if you've done good against the rest of the teams you played in the AFC. You know what I'm saying, that year. So they're important, but Chargers are going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
But if we want to be better than the Chargers and we want to be that team again, I think we have to think like we need to beat them too.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and then the Broncos have some non-AFC West games. We don't have to talk about them in must-wins, but how important is it for the Broncos in the next 2 games after that? They played the Saints in New Orleans and then the Panthers at home. Both NFC teams here.
Yeah, I think it's important because of Sean's history, and they're a good team. I think that's the thing about like being a good team in the NFL. If you really think you're good, you got to go up against good teams. You got to beat them. Like I know the Broncos are 2-2. They went up against 2 good teams and teams that were figuring it out, and they beat them. Okay, so now we're not below average. Now we figured out that, hey, we can beat some good teams. Now we got to continue to do that. That really tells us if we're a good team or not. So I think the Saints is an opportunity to beat a good team and a team that's playing well right now.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how good the Saints actually are come week 7, because the first 2 weeks they were averaging 45 points a
Yeah,
game.
balling.
They were the best offense in the NFL. The Broncos had 1 touchdown the first 2 weeks. The Saints had 11. They've come back to earth a lot over these past 2 weeks. Do they take off again before then, or do they really slide and they're a 2-4 team by the time the Broncos are playing? That's going to be interesting. That is the least consequential game in terms of record.
Yeah.
A away game, a road game against an NFC team, literally by like the math and tiebreakers and stuff. That's the least important one. So
Doesn't matter.
That's why I'm not going to say that one's a must win. But not saying that one's a must win. The Panthers is a must win. Or like if somehow you pull off the victory, not somehow. If you beat the Saints, then I guess you can come home and drop that game. To me, those are, you have to at least split those games. If you go 0-2 in those games and you lose to the Panthers, I'm sorry. No, you're not gonna have the expectations that we talked about. So
I don't even know what
those
that.
two
I don't
games
even
is
know
a
what that feels like. Like losing to the Panthers. Come on, guys. Like, that's not something we do. Like,
No way.
that's just a win. I mean, like even when I played for the Saints, we didn't lose to the Panthers, guys. Come on.
Are you undefeated
I
against
think
the
I
Panthers?
am. I think I'm undefeated.
That is dope.
You know. Don't look it up. Let's just leave it as it is because I don't want it to. I don't want to ruin. Yeah. I don't want to ruin this confidence I feel right now.
Did you play the? Do you remember how many times you played the Panthers with the Saints? Just once, or was it twice?
I might have been twice. I think my first time like on the active roster was once against the Panthers. I should have known then. Like I'm just tied to this team. Something's supposed to happen. You know.
You're their daddy.
No, I'm not gonna take it that far. Stepfather. No, but I think my first start was against the Saints. I mean, it's against the Panthers. So I might have played them twice while I was there. That'd be 4-0 if so. I love it. So the Broncos, you can't lose. And the good news is, Todd, you're tied to this Broncos team. So that means they're not going to lose that one. Henry, do you disagree with me? You're kind of shaking your head.
Yeah, I just can't do must win. Like it just
against the Panthers.
Like it's just not. Like it's just not. Like there's it's an NFC game. There's a path. I think you have to go 5-4. But again, like it's like the Steelers game.
Well, then there's
you said
5
the
must
Steelers
wins
game
in
was
there.
a must win. But none of them individually. Like there's paths. Like you can always, when you're talking about week 8, like you can make it up. You can beat the Ravens. You can beat the Chiefs. It's unlikely, but like again, that's just those strong words. But no, I mean you'd really like to be coming out of week 8 with again a winning. I guess you couldn't be winning record. At least 500. You'd like to be a winning record, but at the very least, if you're 500, you've still got a path.
All right, we got a couple more games to break down, but first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. And most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. And if you're one of them, you got to check out our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. They're a financial institution based right here in Colorado with PMCU. Excuse me, you get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like a reverse tier money market. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. This is an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. Whatever your goals are, they can help. PMCU is all about creating a better banking experience for their community. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com to learn more. That's becomepremier.com to learn more.
Also, check out Bet365. I missed my bets last night, which sucked. The problem was I parlayed the over in that Dolphins game with the Dolphins money line.
The over?
It hit.
Wow.
Like it's just so low that you had to do it. But
what was it? Do you remember?
38.5.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I mean that.
Well, good call. I would have taken the under.
Yeah, but no, I just thought that at some point Tyreek Hill or somebody would do something, but the Dolphins really just did not. Then the other one I missed also. I had the Seahawks money line. I thought was tempting, but again, that Seahawks defense really is bad. You know, I'm not sure. They do some confusing things in week 1, but they can't tackle. It's like what we talked about all week leading up to that game. Like they literally cannot tackle.
And they didn't miss a tackle against us.
No, they did.
That's very
they
true.
They really didn't.
Yeah.
And then so all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's fixed. And it's like, no, it's not fixed. But that's why we'll get to the Ravens game. Ravens, I get they look impressive when they're clicking. I'm not convinced. But baseball is starting. The baseball playoffs here in like just over an hour, which is going to be a lot of fun. Whole bunch of opportunities there. Obviously, football's going on. They have the Thursday night touchdown offer at Bet365. You make at least $20 in parlay bets, and you wind up getting free bets for every touchdown that's scored. Whole bunch of cool stuff over there. If you want to sign up, you can use the code DNVR365. 2 offers. Bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets, or first bet safety net offer where if you miss your first bet, you get the money back. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yes, shout out to Bet365 as our presenting sponsor on this show. Did you guys see, you mentioned Tyreek Hill, did you see the stat? I believe it was floating around. Doug Clawson put this out last night. In the past 3 weeks, Tyreek Hill and Lil Jordan Humphrey have the exact same stats. They each have 10 catches for 87 yards and no touchdowns. Tyreek Hill's making $30 million a year, and Lil Jordan Humphrey's making like $1.7 million a year. Just insane. So maybe the Broncos are getting a little more production from Lil Jordan Humphrey than we think.
This season?
The past 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Since week 1. Because week 1, Tyreek Hill had like 130 yards or something.
He went crazy week 1.
Yeah.
Lil Jordan did not do that.
Past 3 weeks, 84 yards from Tyreek Hill. Oof. Yikes. Not very good.
Yeah. Was it the quarterback play? Or?
I would imagine it's the quarterback. Yeah.
What? Week 2, though, he had Tua.
Before he went to sleep.
Wasn't that week 3?
Was it week 3?
I thought that was week 2, because then Scott
Was it
Thompson,
week
I
2?
thought, started week 3.
Okay, well, he had him until what? The fourth quarter, I think?
Yeah.
I think that's when Tua got hurt.
Yeah.
Still.
So, you're right.
Yeah.
And then the third stringer who'd been on the team for a week last night.
Shout out to Lil Jordan Humphrey.
Thank you.
4-0 against the Panthers.
Wow.
Todd
Appreciate
is
that,
their
appreciate that.
stepfather. I love it. Von their daddy, Todd their stepfather. The Todd father. There we go. Todd is the Todd father of the Panthers. I love it. Great stat there. You
Yeah,
knew
I
it
love
too. Broncos can't lose this year then. Got to go
No.
5-0.
No.
Put that on your resume.
For sure.
Exactly,
Yes,
yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay, so let's look at the final few games before the Broncos bye here. And after the Panthers game, then they have 2 games. It is the Ravens and the Chiefs, both on the road. For me, it's crazy to call either of these games must-wins, and that's kind of why why there are other must-wins in this stretch, in my opinion, is you have to have a cushion somewhere here. So both of these games at the beginning of the season, I expected the Broncos to lose. I still expect the Broncos to lose, and unless something drastic happens, even with Chiefs receivers dropping left and right, I still expect the Broncos to lose these games. And that's okay. I mean, they're very difficult games going up against maybe the 1 and 2 seed in the AFC on the road. So that's how I feel about those games. But Henry, you might feel different.
I mean, again, it's the NFL. Like, the hard games compared to the easy games just aren't as different as they are in college, you know? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they could beat the Ravens. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, the Raiders did it. If you can stop Derrick Henry, which this defense seems like it's perfectly built to do, all of a sudden it could be totally different. Reminds me of the game 2022, the last time they played the Ravens. They were in Baltimore, and I mean, 10-9 loss. They shut him down. Broncos had that long kick at the end that Brandon McManus just missed. Like, the reason last night got so ugly was just because of Derrick Henry, because they couldn't stop him, and then that opens everything else up. Like, the Ravens, if you can stop the running game, it's fine. And we've seen the Broncos play really, really well against the run.
Yeah, we've also seen the Broncos not play well against the run just this season. Like, against the Jets, they held Breece Hall to 0.4 yards per carry, but they were, I think, a bottom 10 run defense coming into this past week. So
a lot of that's totals, though, not rate. I think by rate, they were still top 10, like per carry. Think about what they did against the Steelers running game. I don't know. I just think that they can slow Derrick Henry down, and that goes a long way.
The thing with the Ravens, man, I think why I feel like this is a tough game is they can beat you so many ways. Like, Lamar can beat you with his legs. Derrick Henry can beat you with his. Lamar can beat you throwing the ball. I just think there's so many things to try and take away as a defensive coordinator. That's why it makes this game tough. And I would be surprised if they beat the Ravens, but I wouldn't be surprised if we beat the Chiefs. I think offense productivity is very similar to how it was last year. We found a way to get multiple turnovers and find a way to win the game on the back of the defense. And I think that's a possibility this game. I'm probably not going to put $1 million at Bet365 on it, but you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
just 100,000.
Yeah. You know.
Okay, and then we got just 1,000. We got 3 more games before this stretch here, and this is really probably going to define where the Broncos season is going to be heading into the bye. Where you got the Falcons at home, the Raiders on the road, and the Browns at home. To me, all 3 of these games are very winnable games. You could also lose all 3 of these games. who knows what Kirk Cousins is going to be? We've seen him look good. We've also seen him look very disappointing. The Browns, I mean, the Broncos took care of the Browns last year when they played them, and I think this Browns team is worse than they were last year, so very winnable. And then the Raiders, again, like, for the past 8 games, I've been saying the Broncos should beat the Raiders, and they've lost them. So I still think that they're going to win this game, but just the Raiders have something against the Broncos. But in this stretch where I kind of stand, the Broncos have to go 2-1 in order to get there. I definitely think that's possible, and that's even with losing those 2 games, in my opinion, to the Ravens and the Chiefs in that difficult home stretch. And when I look at this and we go through it, man, I'm confident that the Broncos can be in this going into the bye and then in this going into January.
Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep hope alive with you. I think there's a path that we've seen that's possible for them to do. They just got to show up and play. And then we just need that productivity from our offense to continue to keep getting better. And I think that's how we, make our push.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all right there. I mean, I was up at CU. Brian Howell, the Daily Camera up there. We were talking in 2019 about the CU schedule and picking out which games were winnable and which ones weren't. And he said, good teams don't have like winnable and not winnable games. Like every game is winnable for a good team. And I think the Broncos are a good enough team that every game is winnable. Like I think that they can go beat anybody anywhere. That's just in part just the nature of the NFL. And, if you go and you beat, and there's a world in which I think they beat the Ravens and the Chiefs, and all of a sudden people are really fired up. So, again, it starts this week, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it starts this week with a must-win against the
Just
Raiders.
like the
That's why
Steelers.
you think it's such a
must-win
game there, Henry. Yeah, I mean, it was a must-win at that point. And the Broncos, again, I give them all the kudos in the world for going back-to-back games on being a 7-point dog and winning both of them. If the Broncos just drop one of them, I mean, 1-3, that's a pretty tough spot to be in.
According to Bet365, the Broncos are at plus 375 to make the playoffs right now. At the start of the season, they were at plus 675.
I love that.
So it's gone down.
I don't know if the Broncos are going to hit that, but I do think that as the weeks go on, it's only going to continue to go down. I love that year. I think they'll probably be at like in the plus 100s at some point this season. So I still like those odds. We got a couple of super chats, and Todd, you brought up Tua, and we have an interesting super chat coming in from our friend TB007 who says, Todd, if you were in Tua's shoes, would you retire?
Personally, I would. I mean, like, for me, I think health is everything. And we play this game because we love it, but we also play it because it creates a great life for our family. And I think he's done that. I think he's gotten paid. I don't think there's another reason for him. Like, he could be chasing a Super Bowl, but to have a Super Bowl now and then at 50, then you're like, your brain doesn't work the way that it should. I don't think it's worth it. So overall, for me, health is the most important thing about the game. So if it's ever your health versus your play, I would always choose your health.
I love that perspective, Todd. Because from an outside perspective, I completely agree with you, but I haven't played the game. So I really like hearing your perspective on that because, yeah, Tua, no one should blame him for stepping away to make that decision.
Yes, and I agree, but you don't just retire, because if you just retire, you don't get the $25 million next year, the $39 after that, the $31, the $41 after that. You have to give back a whole bunch of the signing bonus. Probably it'll go to court. Like, there's a way to get out without just straight up retiring, because then you give up all the money. And so
Well, just don't play anymore.
Exactly. Like, you
know
got
what
to
I'm
get the
saying?
doctors to say, like, he really shouldn't play, But I agree. Like, you gotta get out, but you make sure that you win the game and get your money too.
Yeah, and I know the Dolphins have some sort of insurance policy on Tua's massive contract they just gave him, and I would hope that they would take care of him.
Yeah.
Because he literally would be retiring because he gave his health to the game.
For sure.
So,
but also, I mean, then you're still taking the cap hits 30, 56, 53, 65.
yeah, well,
Like, they'll fight.
yeah, I just hope that they would do right by him to an extent, and
Yeah,
they
'cause
have to. I mean, he's under contract too.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll do this, but didn't the Steelers pay out the rest of his contract?
I think
Like, once
so.
he got hurt? Like,
They
they just
might
paid
have.
him out the rest of his
But
contract.
again, it's different with linebacker money than quarterback money.
And
Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
but he was
living
one
in
of the highest
Russell-
paid linebackers. I mean,
True.
He was actually
getting paid well.
He's working for the Steelers now too.
Now,
Yeah.
see?
And so whether
bring him on.
Yeah.
He could be a, you know what I'm saying?
He can be a left-handed quarterback guru.
Guru, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And a final super chat coming in from Izzy G, who says best podcast in the game, coming from Whitefish, Montana.
Yep.
Love it, Izzy G. Thank you so much for that.
Whitefish Scum. That's our rival up there in Columbia Falls. Actually kicked their ass a couple weeks ago.
Whoa,
wow.
I gotta stop
No,
you. I
so
mean, we got
Wow.
Izzy G
So
giving
He
us
was just
support,
giving us-
and then
I
you
appreciate
just
showing us
talk-
love, and
I'm
you're just
so
like-
sorry, Izzy G.
Called you
Ignore
scum? That's
him.
terrible.
How's that 3-0 feel? Because that's what.
Shout out Whitefish.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Shout out
up.
Whitefish. Send me a shirt. I want a shirt that says "Go
Tom
Whitefish."
Brady went up there. That's like the little rich.
We love you, Izzy G. We love everyone
Hold
who was
that L.
rocking and rolling with us today. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.